Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for your Monday night football slate. We got going on between the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington football team. Very not intriguing. It's not an intriguing matchup. It really isn't. It's a team that should be winning, but is not, and has a very talented quarterback versus a team that has an up and coming defense with their best defensive player out and a very gunslingerish, wild, crazy quarterback. That's the breakdown for that game tomorrow. So before I do that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetShitsD. All right, and don't forget to sign up for the Patreon as well. Before I deep dive into that, I post the parlay of the day almost every single day. This one was this close. The last couple days, I've been one off, and this the crazy part. So this was the parlay today. I had Bucks money line. They came back. Panthers were the letdown, and the Patriots dominated the Titans. So if we're just going over to the Patreon, and like I said here, this is where I provide the betting advice. All these plays won. I had Panthers. Well, Panthers was the mistake. The Buccaneers came through. The Giants won. The Patriots won. The 49ers won. And the Ravens are playing right now. So we'll see how that happens. But the majority of the plays were wins. It's just the Panthers did not come through. I had the wrong mix. That's okay. That's all right. We move on to the next day. So now let's deep dive into this game between the Seahawks and the Washington football team. What's intriguing about this game, it is Russell Wilson's birthday on Monday, the day he's playing this game. So who's going to be our quarterback? Who's going to be our captain? That's going to be Russell Wilson. And if it's perfect timing, it's 100% perfect timing. If you're looking at his game log, coming back from the injury, back-to-back games of no touchdowns. This is a prime game for him to get a TD or multiple TDs. We'll see how many TDs against the Washington football team. They struggle against the pass and they struggle against quarterbacks. So this is the perfect matchup for him. I'm going to be all in on Russell Wilson at the captain position in the flex. He has to be in your lineups, all right? It's his birthday. The man is 9-0 after his birthdays, okay? 9-0. What do you think is going to happen? So we're going to take Russell Wilson. We're going to throw him as the captain, and it's rare when the captain is the quarterback. He really has to do everything. Mainly rushing would be another boost to having a captain as the quarterback as well. So Russell Wilson definitely has upside in that way as well. Let's continue down the line. Let's see if I already have Russell Wilson in there, what are the wide receivers I'm going to pair him with? First, I'm going to pair him with DK Metcalf. Metcalf is a freak of nature. I'm not saying he's the favorite um, wide receiver of Russell Wilson. You can kind of lean towards that, especially in the touchdown in the red zone area. He definitely is looking for DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf has that explosiveness. He has more reliability with Tyler Lockett, but both are definitely good plays. Metcalf has struggled the past 2 weeks, and I think this can be a big outburst game against Washington. So let's go with DK Metcalf as the number 2, pairing him with Russell Wilson. Lockett is definitely going to be in play as well. They usually do not go off on the same game, which is very intriguing. The same thing happened last year. Probably the same thing. Well, that's what's happening this year as well. So Tyler Lockett at 10,200. He's viable, but just going off trends, both of them usually do not tend to go off. What usually happens is Russell Wilson, keys in on one, and he has all the good games, all the good yards, all the TDs. That's what tends to happen. So Tyler Lockett is going to be in play. You should have lineups with Metcalf, Wilson. You should have lineups with Wilson and Lockett, and definitely, just in case, have some lineups with Wilson, Metcalf, and Lockett, all 3 of them together. Okay. Let's continue on down the line. And the reason why I love the wide receivers, if we're just going to check fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers, if we just go over here, this is lineups.com, and you go all the way to the bottom. Washington is 28th and 25th in the red zone. They're giving up a ton of points to the wide receiver, okay? So this is a very great matchup for Russell Wilson and his elite wide receivers. If we're going to bring it back with someone from the Washington football team side, we're going to look at Antonio Gibson. The reason why I'm keying in on him is you go back to the stats. Fantasy points allowed to running backs. The Seahawks, that is their big Achilles heel. They're do pretty decent with wide receivers. The problem is stopping the running backs. And as you see it, they're right behind the New York Jets, the second worst in the league, 31st ranked, 25th in the red zone, allowing 104 yards per game to running backs. Just about a TD a game and 3.9 yards as well. The key to this is the receptions. All right, 72 yards receiving to running backs. That is absolutely horrible. And Antonio Gibson is going to be one of those guys that can be a dual threat. He's obviously getting all the rushing work, 19, 24 carries in back-to-back games. Getting a little bit in the receiving. I think we can find a little cheaper option, but um, Antonio Gibson has been very up and down this year. He's supposed to have a big explosive year. It hasn't come to fruition totally. He had an okay start of the season, then fell off. I think that things can ramp back up, but this is definitely an opportunity where he can have one of his 20 fantasy point games in this one. So we definitely like Antonio Gibson against the Seattle Seahawks. Taylor Heinicke is the quarterback for this team. Like I said, gunslinger mentality. He balls to the wall, and with that type of mentality comes interceptions. So, not just interceptions, but fumbles, mistakes. Period. So you got to watch out for him. He definitely can be an X factor in this slate because he has the upside with his rushing ability. 95 yards against Green Bay, 29 yards against Carolina. He has that in his arsenal, but the mistakes are going to be key. We'll put him back. Here's a tier 2, tier 3 type of play that I'm looking at, just in case this game is a very high scoring environment. But I'm really kind of leaning to what the Seattle is going to put forth after struggling back to back weeks, and they definitely have a weaker defense that they're going up against on Monday. So Taylor Heinicke is going to be in a player pool. But a better option, number 2 option for Washington will be Terry McLaurin, okay? This is the number 1 wide receiver for Washington. Had a great year last year. He's still a top 15 wide receiver this year. It doesn't matter what quarterback is with Washington, he still is performing very well. Games against the Giants, he had 30 DK. Games against Atlanta, he had 30 DK. He's been very up and down. He had a breakout game last against Green Bay, um, and then had a decent performance against Carolina. So we'll see what he'll be able to put forth and see how the Seattle defense tries to corral him, even though they're going to be allowing a lot of yards in the rushing game. So do not forget about Terry McLaurin as well. So he's definitely be in the pool. And that will be our tier 1 guys, pretty much. Let's go to the tier 2. Heinicke's going to be tier 2, but let's continue on with the other guys that I'm looking at in our lineup builds. So these won't be the captain options. If you looking to save salary, you can definitely take a shot at one of these guys. It's not going to be at a very high percentage that is going to come through, okay? The first guy we're going to look at will be J.D. McKissic. Now, I showed you all the problems with Seattle with stopping the run and stopping running backs receiving as well. This is the Washington antidote to Seattle's problem, and J.D. McKissic is the guy that is the receiving back. He's the third down back. 4 receptions against Tampa Bay, 8 against Denver, 4 against Green Bay, 8 against Kansas City. It's a lot of game script variance when it comes to him. So if you see Washington down by a lot, they'll definitely use J.D. McKissic to up the tempo, and he'll come in. So he'll definitely be in the player pool as well. I definitely like J.D. McKissic. Let's continue down on with the injuries to the running back position. They have a lot of injuries. No Travis Homer, no Rashad Penny, and DJ Dallas is going to be the second guy behind Alex Collins. This leaves just him as a running back. There's not much to look at from him. He's just like a battering ram. Not a great yards per carry average as well. Alex Collins is just there to just run a couple plays. All right, he's not going to break a big run. He might get a catch or two, maybe. You're hoping for a red zone touch and a touchdown. That's what you're hoping for with him. He's going to be really lower on our list, but definitely a fill-in cheap play if you want someone that's going to get a decent amount of touches, all right? And you're looking for an opportunity in the end zone. He can have a chance at that, all right? And we're going to continue down. I said DJ Dallas is the number 2 running back. We're not going to really look his way as well, even though he's the more explosive out of the two. He was able to get a touchdown against Arizona last week, and it wasn't Alex Collins, but those are very two ugly options. If I'm looking for another wide receiver on Washington, that's going to be DeAndre Carter. He has an interesting streak going on, 3 straight games with a touchdown. So this is something to look at. You do have to be warned that Curtis Samuel will be back. That's the number 2 wide receiver for Washington. Watch out for him. He'll probably be limited in action, and DeAndre Carter still be that number 2 guy in the offense. But he's been very consistent, has a nice rapport with Taylor HEINICKE, and especially in the red zone. So he'll definitely be in the pool. You guys got to watch out for this one too. Logan Thomas, he'll be activated, okay? There's no more Ricky Seals-Jones. He's doubtful. And with him coming back, the tight end position is another area where you can exploit against the Seattle Seahawks. Right here, they're 28th in the red zone against opposing tight ends. So that is a plus for Logan Thomas. A little bit of a perfect game for him to come back on. Was very consistent in the first 3 games of the season, and then obviously he got injured. But Logan Thomas comes in this game as a safety net for Taylor HEINICKE. Definitely had a strong season last year, and he's at the beginning of the season he was doing the same thing as well. So he'll definitely is one of my favorite cheaper flex options to have in tomorrow's slate. Curtis Samuel, I just spoke about him. He's 5,000, but I'm going to stay away from him. That's more of a wait and see. I'm going to avoid both defenses. If I was to choose one, it would be Seattle, just because I know that Taylor HEINICKE turns the ball over a lot. Kickers are viable, so you can have Joey Sly or Jason Myers in this game. If they're struggling, obviously, they'll rely on those kickers. So they'll be viable. I'm staying away from defenses. And other than that, let's see if we find another gem down here. 2 more guys. Freddie SWAIN is the number 3 wide receiver. He's been struggling the past couple games. That's because Russell Wilson came back and he was not himself. But before that, he had some here and there games. 5 receptions against Tennessee for a touchdown. 3 receptions and another touchdown against 49ers. So you really don't know when he's going to go off. Definitely a lower end flex guy just to have at the back end of your lineups if you have just a little bit of salary. And then last but not least will be JARET Patterson. This is the number 3 running back. And this can be some scenarios when they're in the red zone. He'll get a couple of touches. He gives Antonio Gibson a breather, and he can definitely break off a couple runs just off the little bit of touches that he gets. So he's someone to watch out as well that you could put in at the back end of that flex position. All right. So that will be the breakdown for tomorrow's Monday Night Football matchup between Seattle and Washington. The guys we're going to key in on, definitely they're going to be locks and should be in the captain spot as well, will be Russell Wilson, will be Antonio Gibson, and definitely you have to choose between Metcalf and Lockett. I think if you focus in on these 3 guys, then you should be fine with the rest of your lineup, all right? Not saying it has to go in this order. Obviously, you can move it around, but these are going to be the 3 guys we're going to focus on for tomorrow, all right? Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MessageSD, and don't forget to sign up for the Patreon, all right? Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out.